Hello folks, I'm your host and Commissioner Tom Anderson, welcoming you back to your favorite weekly episode, Weekly Wiffs. Opening day is next Sunday, May 17th, and everyone's anticipation is through the roof. And on this episode of Weekly Wiffs, we will return everyone's favorite segment, Over or Under. And that will be in the segment that we like to call Across the League, hosted by Eric Anderson and Eric Lear. Stay tuned for that, and more coming your way on this episode of Weekly Wiffs. I'm going to hand over to Dan Anderson now with the Inside Scoop. Dan?
Thank you, Tom. Hello, PWO Universe. I'm your VP, Dan Anderson, and this is the Inside Scoop. Opening day is rapidly approaching. It's coming up on Sunday, May 17th. First game is going to start at 11:45, so try to be there at 11:30 by the latest. Let me also remind you to get your league fees and your shirt money into the Commissioner ASAP. The first order of shirts should be in by tomorrow. We'll be attempting to have one last scrimmage on this Sunday at 11:45, so just kind of try to be there and warm up a bit before opening day comes. At the last scrimmage we were able to see wiffle ball veteran Eric Morrissey in action. He appears to be in great whiff shape, and he's looking pretty good for this upcoming season. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for wiffle ball veteran John Anderson. Due to a recently sustained ankle injury, his opening day start is questionable, and it might not bode well for the Rivercats' future. Also, in Lemur news, GM Tom Anderson has openly stated that if veteran Jeremy Rabideau does not come to opening day, he will be cut from the team instantly. Also in Lemur news, rookie John Champagne has moved up to the number 3 slot in the pitching rotation, surpassing veteran Ryan Fahey. That's all for the Inside Scoop. I'll see you guys next week. Coming up is Across the League with Eric Lear and Eric Anderson. Have a great day!
Thank you, Dan, and hello, PWO Universe. This is Across the League, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Eric Lear. Pleasure to have you aboard, as always.
Thank you.
And we're also joined by a very special guest, the Commissioner, Mr. Thomas Anderson.
Turn down for what? Turn down for what? Yo, check this out.
Now we're going to start off by going over a couple of predictions we think what might happen during this wiffle ball season. And we'll start with our predictions for MVP. I'll have you start, Tom.
MVP. I'm going to try not to be biased this whole segment, but...
That's not allowed.
Alright, well, MVP. I'm going to defer to Leah to start off. I'm just going to bounce off what you guys say for this one. It's a very tough category to judge, so I mean, we really can't tell until people start playing. It's one of the hardest things to predict. So I'm gonna defer this.
Alright, I'll take over then. There's always been a top 3 for MVP, at least since I've been here. It's always been between Hamlin, Dylan, and Tom. So obviously they will be the top 3 contenders for that. And of course this bastard, because he's just always in the...
I'm also an old bastard, so I wouldn't even consider myself the MVP.
Won last year.
Oh, that's true. I don't know. I don't see my stats being anywhere near that last year. I don't have to do it all this year.
Yeah.
Thank God.
But
thank God for a redraft.
But yeah, and speaking of the redraft, I feel like different teams will affect different players a lot better, and they can play in like a better environment. Like I feel Fitz is gonna really play a lot better now that he's next to Eric and Benoit, just because they have a lot of chemistry.
I agree.
So I see Fitz going up way up in the in the MVP voting stats. And same for Emo. I feel like now that Emo has Dylan and Hamlin on his team, he's going to definitely even pick up what he did last year and probably put his name in the ballot for that too. That's my top 5. I think that's 5.
Yeah, I agree with Lear. The top 3 is definitely between Hamlin, Dylan, and Tom. But I also have a couple of dark horses, 2 mainly. Adam Weldon, who's been looking good this preseason so far.
Sorry, I forgot you, Weldon.
He always does that in the preseason, then he starts to like turn back to normal during the regular season. So I want to see if he can actually keep doing what he's been doing in the preseason.
Yeah, his pitching's been insane so far.
Yeah, it's been, and then even his hitting too. I mean, maybe all he needed was a change of scenery. But my other one is Brendan Fitzgerald, just like Lear said. And I mean, he's going to be committed. I played with Benoit and Fitz this is going to be year number 4 out of a possible 6. So I feel that there'll be good things in the future.
Going off of what you guys said, I definitely feel like Weldon has performed, he probably performed the best out of anyone this preseason. And if he can keep it up on the mound and at the plate, not only will the Lemurs be very dominant, he himself will be a huge dominant force for, and definitely an MVP candidate in my opinion.
I could see that. But I'm going to start off the Cy Young, and I feel like it's between 3 people, Dylan, Tom, and Weldon. But my favorite this year will be Dylan, if he can get that pitch work, and that he started to throw in the beginning of preseason, but I haven't seen him play in a couple of weeks. So whether or not he can have that little slurve action thrown for consistent strikes will be the determining factor of whether or not he wins Cy Young. But I could see either Tom or Weldon.
The thing with Dylan is he had this insane drop. It was last year or something like that. He threw it for a couple weeks and it was absolutely dirty. I don't know how he hit all the time with it, but it was absolutely unhittable. It would be above your head and then it would be at your knees in 2 seconds. I haven't seen that in a while, but back what you said, I think Dylan can definitely hold in a one spot for that if he can add another pitch to his already nasty arsenal.
Definitely.
And then I'm gonna have a bold prediction that Weldon will outpitch Tom this year, because just so far it's been absolutely insane. And I say it from my standpoint, I can hit Tom a hell of a lot better than I can hit Weldon.
Especially right now, Tom's broken. He's slowly getting back into whiff shape.
Yeah,
So.
even last year, I feel like Tom, he has the riser, but I feel like you can kind of find that better than Weldon, because Weldon's just all fucking over the place, and you never know if it's gonna be above your head or at your knees, or just you never know. So.
I agree.
Part of what makes Weldon so good is just his unpredictability. Like, you're literally intimidated when you go up to face him because you don't know if you're gonna get beamed. And when you get beamed by Weldon, that shit hurts, and that leaves a welt, and it's always in the back of your mind, and it affects your batting against him greatly, in my opinion. That's just from my experience. When I faced Weldon, it was always wicked difficult to face him because he's wild, unpredictable, and he throws probably one of the fastest in the league. And
he probably is the fastest between him or Dylan.
And the last 2 categories, MVP and Cy Young, 2 out of the 3 that we've mentioned have been Lemurs. So, I mean, there's only good things coming in our direction if this keeps up.
Rookie of the year, there's only really 4 rookies, so no offense, but it's kind of a crapshoot. But I got to give it to Tom Gannon if he's committed. That's pretty much all I got to say about that.
I plan on him being committed, so we should wrap that up easy.
I got a dark horse for Rookie of the Year. John Champagne showed up to one scrimmage. He reminds me of Steve Froyo, but better than Steve Froyo. He's a lot more power and a lot more accuracy. He's a lot more into it.
After one scrimmage.
And
After one scrimmage.
I can definitely. Hey, he showed up more than Tom Gannon has.
That's
So.
okay, no worries.
And he's got a shot in the way. It's going to be a fun season. He's moved about Fahey in the pitching rotation too. So him and Fahey are going to battle it out the entire year if needed.
Let me put in a word for Dr. Winkley before we forget about him. That's Tom Gannon, by the way, for all you folks that don't know that. He was a former Manatee, and I wasn't here for that, but from what I heard, kid was pretty good. He just didn't have his head in the right place. So. That will not be a problem here, and he will do good things for us. So.
Yeah, I have absolute faith he'll be good in the Warriors organization. But is John going to be committed?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he seems very interested, and first scrimmage showed up to get a lot of fun. And whenever I see him, you can already tell we're beginning that teammate bond. It's going to be a very fun summer.
All right. Alrighty, next category is Comeback Player of the Year, and I think I'm going to give it to Brendan Fitzgerald at this moment in time.
I feel like that's the number one for that.
Yeah, his hitting and pitching is going to be so much better than it was last year, and he'll be able to show up to at least 75% of the games, which is huge. So
I feel like just his pitching improvement will probably win him that. He's always had one of the best bats, but I feel like from coming back from pitching last year, if he can at least just have a couple wins and keep his ERA down fairly enough, he will rack that up easy.
Yeah, he's a finesse pitcher now. He doesn't throw fast anymore. He admitted that last scrimmage, so he's more of a Jamie Moyer type pitcher now. No more Clayton Kershaw.
I feel like everyone's forgetting about Dylan D'Angelo. I mean, at the plate last year, that was his worst year ever at the plate. It was literally bad.
I had more home runs than him.
Yeah, Dylan had a very off year, and that probably could have contributed
like
to
9.
the Cubs' loss in the championship. I mean, yeah, that was his worst year at the plate, and he could definitely bounce back from that, and he could definitely win comeback player of the year if he does so.
It's a very valid point. I wasn't even thinking about that. That's true. What did he only had less than double-digit homers.
Yeah, he was 9 dingers.
Yeah.
His RBIs were up there, but
Yeah, so he went down from like in the 20s to 9. So yeah, I could definitely.
what was his average though?
317.
Yeah, his average was down, but he wasn't really.
It's also due to his commitment last year.
Yeah.
The entire Cubs team, that whole bullshit.
Which won't happen this year. I have faith.
If it does, it's won't be eligible for playoffs, so there's that.
So some people seem to forget is mostly the Cubs last year was mostly comprised of Hamlin, Nate, and Benoit. I think Benoit actually might have showed up more than Dylan did sometimes, but
Especially towards the end, yeah.
Yeah, and they needed him.
yeah, Nate was a big part of the commitment in the Cubs. So, and now he's in the Rhinos. The Rhinos should definitely not have any more two-man squads with Nova and Keish. So that should be a big thing anyway.
Hopefully not. No more two-man teams. That's what we tried to prevent with this redraft.
Indeed. Speak up, Eric.
But most committed.
Are we doing that's not just for rookies anymore? Is it just
No, that's for
That's
everybody.
right.
Okay.
I'm just gonna give it to Joe Fish like every other damn year, because Keogh's gone. So
Is
who
it
else is there?
Good riddance to
Whoever-
Keogh, by the way.
whoever makes 20 games, if someone can?
Yeah, you can't be a GM though. That's all.
Yeah. And there's even word that some GMs won't show up to all games. Gators. Yeah, that's the guys. Gators and Rhinos. That's probably going to be a problem. But as long as the teammates still show up, shouldn't
Come on,
be
what's
too bad.
Bobby got to do?
He's got a vacation.
Oh
all
snap!
Summer, all summer.
No, for I think a week or two.
I can smell the Raptors coming back in the distance right now.
Oh no.
Already, Gold Gloves, 3 of them. Name them.
Go Gloves. Weldon. He's never won one. Eric Anderson, very deserving one. He's never gotten one. And I'm going to say Eric Morrissey because he's all over the place in the field.
Yeah, especially if he can get back to 100% after his arm surgery. I haven't seen him throw yet, but he's always had a rocket for an arm. But I'll go with Eric Morrissey, Nick Hamlin, like always. And then I'm still going to give it to Keyshawn because I
Yeah,
feel like the
that's-
Rhinos really need him to back up pitching when Nova or Nate is pitching. They'll definitely need Keyshawn's defense to do anything.
Yeah, bastard took my exactly picks. I back with Ham, Emo, and Keish. Because Keish, he has the smoothest hands on the side of the Mississippi. I've never seen smoother hands.
Mississippi.
And there's a lot on this side of the Mississippi. Mississippi's way over there.
And then last but not least, the most prestigious award in PWL history, the KMO Award, which is not an award you want because it means you are a terrible pitcher. Who won it last year?
Worst
Emo.
ERA.
Emo.
Yeah.
Eric Morrissey had like
He had a great acceptance speech.
he had
Great
like
acceptance speech.
64.0 ERA. And that's one of the worst we've ever seen.
Holy crap.
But this year, I feel like it's gonna be. I could see like definitely someone from the Gators.
Well, they're going to have to pick someone to pitch other than Bobby. And who do they have for pitching? They have
They got Posk,
Dan Joey,
Cook.
Cook. Okay.
Cook won the KMO Award in 2013.
What was his ERA last year?
I don't even think
he pitched
Cook
much.
pitched that
Yeah.
much
He
last
pitched
year.
a few games, I know that.
He
all
was
these
mediocre at best.
He held the Rhinos to 2 runs.
True. But I can definitely see someone coming from the Gators winning that award. I mean, if maybe like Cisco gets a spot,
Oh, God.
star here and there.
That's everybody's worst nightmare.
It happened a couple times last year, and the Lemurs feasted off of that. That was fun.
How many were strikes?
There need to be strikes.
Yeah,
It's-
I agree with the commissioner. I feel like it will be a Gator, only because, I mean,
Just the lack of depth pitching
yeah, I
there.
think there's no star ace per se on that team, and it'll be interesting to see what Bobby ends up doing come the regular season.
Good luck to the 2014 Warriors. So,
But Commissioner Anderson actually put up his power rankings a couple of days back, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about that.
bullshit.
Yeah, I don't really agree with some of the records, but the order is pretty good. But 17-3 for the Lemurs, I feel, is too much.
We had 16 wins last year. Teams only gotten better. I don't see us getting less than 16 wins. I mean, we were winning games without Fahey, and we were winning games with Fahey as a number 2 pitcher. And Fahey's
Who are you
now,
playing?
But it doesn't even matter, man. It's just Fahey against anyone now. It's a slugfest. And we've only gotten better since then. I really don't see us getting anything less than as many wins as we did last year. I feel like we've only improved.
I feel like the teams are more evenly matched, and max out, I'll give them 15 wins. 15 and 5, I could see. 17 and 3 I feel is too much.
The whole reason they had 16 wins last year is because, like Eric said, a lot of teams were very, very mismatched. Like Warriors last year, I'll say it, we were not good. We showed up and we came to play, but we were not a great team.
But you were very fun to watch. Loved watching the Warriors teams.
Warrior pride.
This is one of the highlights of the year, just watching Warrior primetime games, because they got so into it. And every game was pretty close, and they had a lot of close games, and then there's other games there, it was just terrible. But the close games were so much fun to watch, and true colors were shown.
But regardless, my point was being that like a lot of teams were mismatched. Like Lemurs and the Cubs were always 1 and 2 because of the raw talent, but now I feel like that we redrafted everybody. There's a lot more of like chemistry certain teams, like River Cats have, or there's just more. Everyone has something.
Yeah, it's
No
more.
team has absolute garbage. No one has the crappy players. Everyone has somebody. Everyone has 1 or 2 good players that they can support, play and support with, and that should be a huge thing when it comes to the records because there's not going to be many blowout games.
I agree with that 100%. And then he had the Cubs at 14-6 as the 2 seed. I mean, I feel like the Lemurs and Cubs could flip-flop once the middle of the season comes down. But the biggest thing for the Cubs is pitching. I mean, they have Dylan, but then their number 2 would probably be Nate Ramos and Nick Hamlin. And I feel like they're hittable.
Definitely.
Nate's not terrible though. He's good.
I would take Weldon over either of them though by a lot. And that's why I put Lemurs above the Cubs, just for that reason. This pitching wise.
Well, if you ranked a team just based on its pitching, you would.
So that's a huge part of the game, man. If you can't pitch, like look at the Gators. They ended up 6th. They got the worst pitching staff.
Well, we'll see. It could surprise us. Dan could become a stud with Cy Young. No. My point being, like yes, pitching is extremely important, but it doesn't determine games. Like last year, the Warriors-Cubs game, it was what 55 runs?
Yeah,
something like that. It was insane. And I started that game. I think Hamlin started the other side, and by the end of the game, there was 2 different. I think there had been 4 or 5 different pitchers on each side. It was a friggin' nightmare. So.
Yeah, I hope there's none of those. But I remember you were losing 20-0, and you didn't give up. You still, and then you actually got back into it. It was crazy.
Good times.
But.
Yeah, then he has the River Cats at 3, 13-7. I mean, I can agree with that record. I mean,
First winning season for River Cats?
Yeah,
we
first ever.
were close to the first season at 9-11, but since then it's been kind of a
Let's
crap
just give a refresher to everyone. The season when the River Cats went 9-11, they started off that season 6-0. In the last 14 games, they went 3-11. And largely it had part to do with Joe Poss not being there. Joe Poss is now a Gator, and if he can make the team as dependent on him as the River Cats were in 2012, I mean the Gators can go far. If Joe can find his pitching again, I mean he could honestly be solid. Joey and Dan have a lot of potential for the Gators. I mean, Bob's just got to use them well.
It was a very different league in 2012, though.
True.
So, I feel like that. I don't want to bash on Joey because he's a good pitcher, but I feel like a lot of his pitches just miss, and that's where like the bigger K zone in 2012 would cut in.
Definitely, 100%.
He has good speed and good movement. He's a good pitcher, but sometimes you just can't find it. But like you said, if he was a big part in 2012, but like 2013, he had probably the biggest sophomore slump of all of the rookie players in 2012, and last year didn't really pick up as much. He did contribute some more RBIs and runs and whatnot, but unless he can really, really pick up his production to his like when he had his rookie season, that team will need him a lot.
Side note on that sophomore slump he had, he ended up winning the championship that year. So a lot of things can happen on any given day.
And it just goes to show you, I mean, number 1 goal should be to make the playoffs, and then anything happens in the playoffs, because my record was terrible going into the playoffs. I went in the 5th seed, and then I ended up being 7-4 in the playoffs to win the championship, so anything's possible. And then the bottom 3 at 4, 5, and 6, he has the Rhinos, Warriors, and Gators. the Rhinos are 8-12 and just goes one less win down. I mean, I think the Rhinos would be more of a 10-10, and the Warriors would be more of a 9-11 team. The Gators at 6-14. In the next segment on this show, we'll do an over and under of whether or not they get 4 or more wins. I mean, there's so much unpredictability with the Gators. I really don't know what to expect with them.
I don't know if it was an inside job.
I mean, yeah, the Gators, got a lot of potential. I mean, Bobby surrounded himself with so many veterans, and they gotta pay off somehow.
Yeah, he's got a lot of commitment there. That's what matters. Like Dan will show up every week. Lovely will show up most weeks as long as he's not on vacation. Cisco will show up every week.
But the true thing is, Dan may show up physically, but will he be there mentally? Time will tell.
Question of the century there.
But I just want to do a couple of over and unders. We do this every year before the regular season, and we're going to start off with over and under 27 dingers. 27 dingers is the record. I'm going to go under with this. I mean, I feel like the pitching's better on certain teams, but then again, if you face potentially the Gators and pretty much any team really. I mean, every team has a bad day here and there.
Yeah, it'll be a crapshoot,
But yeah, I could see early 20s for home runs this year.
yeah, I'm going under with
Yeah,
that.
definitely going under. I mean, last year was ridiculous how many people were hitting home runs. I mean, this guy next to me came out of nowhere and started hitting diggers left and right.
Him and
I
Evan
don't
are
expect that to
26.
happen again.
54 home runs combined. That's insane.
I feel like that record will definitely stay put this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Hamlin is safe on that one. But like I said, Gator wins over under 4. I'm gonna go with right at 4.
I want to say over just because I really want Bobby and his team to just kind of come out of nowhere. Like, I know I didn't finish well in the standings last year, but for the first 2 weeks everyone was like they won.
Yeah,
They're
you
2-2.
Warriors started out 2-0 after the opening day. And everyone thought they were going to be
It was
terrible.
1-1.
1-1.
2-1,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
they
That's what it
beat.
is.
No, we lost to you guys.
Oh,
we
yeah,
beat
oh,
Rip Cats,
yeah.
lost to you guys, and then week 2 we walked off against the Rhinos and then got smashed by
We
the
got
Cubs.
smoked. I lost 16-7 opening day. Yeah, and then I just didn't show up for that Lima game. That was a shit show.
So we were 2-2 after week 2, and people were
Yeah.
like,
Hey, you were right in the middle of the pack and everyone was surprised.
Yeah, I feel like you were like the 3rd seed after 2
Yeah.
weeks.
And everyone thought you were going to be at the bottom too, which is quite surprised. I'm going to say over 2, just for, I love rooting for the underdog. I mean, Bobby, I took him under my wing last year, I would say, and he got him a championship. I mean, we all put together a collective effort, and we did pretty much the impossible coming down. We came back, we were losing 2-0, and every single one of the players on the 2014 teams had to give it their all on the field on that series because we were all dying. I mean, myself, I pitched 18 innings in less than 24 hours. Everyone was sore, everyone was dogging it, but we still gave it our all, and we ended up being champions. And I really feel like that experience for Bobby is going to lead him in a positive direction for this upcoming season. If he can just guide his team, similar to what we did as the Lemurs, and motivate his players, this team can be good. And I really hope they surprise a lot of people.
Bobby just needs to have faith in himself. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Be confident in your decision making and use your
Don't
plays
second guess
wisely.
yourself, yeah.
I mean, Joey and Dan can be very solid pitchers from time to time, but when one of them says their arm's tired or they just can't, you just gotta take them out, especially Dan.
The key is being consistently inconsistent.
Amen to that.
You got a lot of options, just use them wisely and just try to get your players there and be a good GM.
That's another thing I want to just side note. When someone on your team is pitching and they look like they're struggling, don't just take them out because they're walking people. Make sure they just can't throw. Because, I don't know, I've had some experiences where I've watched kids that are like, just walk after walk after walk, and they walk in 4 or 5 runs. And it's like, oh, no, I'm good. Like, you're not good. You just walked in half of a dozen runs. Like,
Yeah.
you need to come out. And there's a difference between you walk a few and then pick it back up and get the last 3 Ks. But just trust your players, and if you can't trust your players, then
Don't trust anybody.
you're fucked.
But Connor Scully, over under 7 games played.
Over.
7 games is the minimum for playoff eligibility, and I'm going to put him right at 7 just because I have faith in Scully, but I don't know.
I'm putting him over just because I want him to be over. So ask me if he is over. I have no idea. I would love him to be over 7. I would love him to be at 12. I would love him to show up as much as possible. That would contribute a huge thing to our games.
Yeah,
And especially if he shows up playoff time, it'd be huge.
you know, he'd be huge for the Warriors. And I think he showed up to 9 for the Rivercats last year, so it was like a little bit over the minimum, but
I'm definitely going to say under. I mean, because before the draft happened, Connor Scow was definitely on the Lemurs draft board. And we reached out to him, and he told me in confidence that at most he thinks he'll be able to show up to like 2 games. So I was very surprised that Connor Scow was drafted so early. But I really don't see him being eligible for playoffs. I mean, if it is, holy shit, Warriors are going to be dirty. I mean, that's a huge threat to the league. But it's highly unlikely in my mind.
all right. But first place wins over under 15. Like I said a little bit earlier, I said the Lemurs would have 15 wins, so I'm going to say right at 15.
These are all your picks, so you're just going with the number you put down.
Yeah, not all the time. But I feel like 15 is pretty much the number one. 15 and 5 will be the 1 seed this year.
Yeah, I agree with
I
that.
feel like it definitely could be over. I mean, we have some of the most dominant teams ever formed in the league's history this year.
But that's the fact that we have the most dominant teams. So
Yeah, a lot of
it'll be
competition. There's also those 3 bottom 3 teams. If your team's dominant every weekend, that's at least 12 wins. You face each team 4 times. I mean, then you just gotta rack up 3 wins between the other 2 teams. I mean, like, that's definitely doable.
So you think you're gonna get 3-4 wins against the bottom 3 teams every game?
It's very possible, man.
Fuck off.
Camos.
Camos. But the 5th seed, I have over under 8 wins. I feel like that could be under just very slightly. I could see the 5th seed being 7-13 and making it in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I know 8 wins is like, that's, you could be 5 or 4 depending on the teams that are in the bottom 3 of the league, but like I feel like this year it'll definitely be 8 or 7 as the 5th seed, and then the 4th seed will be in the 9-10 range.
I could see that.
And yeah, I mean, if you get like, I feel like 7 or 8 wins is like the landmark for playoffs. I mean, if you get like if you go 8-12, you're pretty likely to make the playoffs. I mean, there's at least always a team that has less wins than that. I mean, you're just gonna be that one. You've gotta pretty much try not to make playoffs to not make playoffs.
Pretty much. That's a good. I like that. But the strikeout leader for this season, over under 100 Ks. I know that Tom led the league last year with 103. I think it's going to be under this year.
Yeah.
I feel like it could go over, especially with Weldon. I feel like Weldon's going to pitch a lot more than they did last year. I mean, the Wahoos were kind of a bust all year, just kind of like lobbing it and just screwing around and forfeiting games, not finishing games. That's a lot less innings played than he will have pitched this year. Well, he will pitch this year, I mean, and I definitely feel like it could be over that.
You got anything to add to that, Mr. Lear?
No.
All right. The triples last year, it was myself and Dylan D'Angelo who had 2. Over under 2 is the question, and I feel like it could be over this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really surprised me that we had like none. I mean, that's so low. I mean,
I could probably remember them off the top of my head. Like he had 2, Dylan had 2. I know Lovely had 1.
yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't that many people that had triples. There was like
Very
maybe
hard to
8.
Very hard to hit triples where the field is, and
Yeah, you pretty much have to hope for a miracle. But doubles, last year Weldon led in doubles. He had 13. I could see that being under. Just because I feel like people hit singles and like by like the 3rd inning they're tired, so they just run to first.
Yeah.
So I could see like 10.
yeah, I could agree on that. And the only reason Weldon had so many is because they faced a lot of 2-man teams as Wahoos and hit out low,
Yeah, that's
just kept
true.
running.
Yeah, because 2nd place was 8, so yeah, he had quite a ways. Brendan Fitzgerald and Adam Weldon wins. Over under 8.
I'm gonna say over. I mean, Weldon's gonna pitch at least once every weekend. You could definitely. I mean, that's at least 10 starts. I mean, spare any off days. He can win almost all of those. I'm very confident in saying that.
I hate the Lemurs.
Honestly, dude, if any team were to ever have the chance to go undefeated, I really feel like the Lemurs this year have the best chance of doing that.
You're not going undefeated.
Out of any team ever formed.
You're not going undefeated.
That's our goal.
Not undefeated.
Well, that's quite a lofty goal, but the sport of wiffle ball is just unpredictable. There's no way in hell you go undefeated.
No.
There's a first time for everything.
Hell will
folks.
freeze over.
There's a first time for everything.
Joe Fish will have 7 grannies. And he's showing his ass to every single person in the league by then.
Oh, the nightmares. And last but not least, I have one more over-under, and it's the number of times Dylan uses the N-word.
Over.
Over and under 150.
I'm going over that.
I'm literally gonna say over. I mean, that's at least like 25 times every time he plays the game. So, I mean, that's definitely.
And now, now that he's got Ryan Nurse as a
make sure to
teammate,
block that. Make sure
he
to
might
block
have
that
to. He
whole
might have
weekend.
to censor himself. So I'm gonna switch that to under. I forgot about Ryan Nurse.
I don't think Dylan gives a fuck though.
No, he doesn't. And I'm going to go over on that. I mean,
Yeah,
every
well,
time he swings and misses, that comes out or it's an F-bomb.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Sometimes it's both.
yeah, mostly it's both. But on that note, PW Universe, this is Across the League, and now I'm going to go over to Commissioner's Corner. Take it easy.
Thank you, Eric. Hello, folks. I'm Tom Anderson, and this is Commissioner's Corner. On this week's episode, we're going to discuss the latest version of the first ever Power Rankings of 2015. They were released 2 days ago, and sitting on top of the rankings is the 2014 defending champs, the Lemurs. And this is, to no surprise, the team only has gotten better with the addition of Adam Weldon in the draft after a series of discussions, and a trade was made between the Lemurs and the Gators, which sent Weldon to the Lemurs organization. And not far behind them, moving down to the number 2 spot in the power rankings, is the Cubs. Cubs fell just short of getting their first ever championship under Nick Hammond's belt. And in the draft, they added 2014 Rookie of the Year winner Eric Morrissey and Rookie of the Year winner runner-up Nate Ramos, who, if he shows up, could definitely be a force for the team. But the big part is if he shows up. Also, Eric Morse is coming off of arm surgery, so we don't know if he'll have as good a season as he did last year. But either way, he's a solid player all around and provides a lot in all aspects of the field and in the game in general. And moving down to fan favorite for this year, the River Cats, who have never before ever had a winning season ever in the history of their entire organization. They're going to look to finally get their first winning season this year, and they have the talent and the roster to do it with the addition of Brendan Fitzgerald and John Anderson. Eric Anderson should have a solid core every single week and finally he gets what he needs, what he's needed for the past 3 years. And if they're reliable and if Fitz can step up on the mound, this team can actually be a big threat this year and go deep into the playoffs. And moving on to number 4. Rhinos, and that's kind of a surprise. Rhinos surprised a lot of people last year. They're just a 2-man team. They won a lot of games and almost upset the Lemurs in the playoffs. I mean, that was a great series, and they added a lot of friendly faces to the team. Added Zach Randall, Nate Powers. Nate Powers is going to be a huge key to this team if and when he ever shows up. And this team has a lot of raw talent, but they just have to show up. The commitment's not there all the time, and that's going to be their only flaw. And they don't really have one dominant ace pitcher. It's going to be like a collective group effort. But this team is honestly one of the most solid all-around teams that the league has seen so far this year, and any year prior, I think. And yeah, they could definitely go far into the playoffs just like they did last year, and hopefully have some magic. All right, moving on to the 5 spot. The 5th seed in the power rankings is Eric Lear's Warriors. They drafted Tom Gannon, who has history with the league. He played in 2012, but that we all know it didn't really end well. By the time he did play, he was actually very good. He was definitely in the top 5. He was one of the top 5 pitchers in the league, but hands down. And he was a nightmare to face. I mean, he had an interesting windup, and but news has it that he hasn't touched wiffle ball since then. We haven't picked up a wiffle ball bat, so it's definitely going to take a little bit for him to get back in the swing of things. And he hasn't showed up to any scrimmages, so he's definitely going to be rusty the first couple of games he shows up. And another thing, the Warriors drafted Connor Scully, which, if that kid shows up, that's almost a guaranteed win. I mean, Connor Scully was a huge part of the Rivercats 2013 championship. series victory over the Lemurs. And if he can do that, similar things with the Warriors, the team could definitely be a threat. And if he's playoff eligible and the Warriors make the playoffs, that's their number one pitcher hands down. He could win a series by himself on the mound. If a 3-game series, he pitches game 1 and 3. That's a big chance for the Warriors to go far in the playoffs. And finally, last but not least, 6th in the power rankings is the newly formed Gators. GM is Zach Kelly, and we got a lot of grief around the league, but he's drafted a solid core of players. He drafted a series of veterans to help him lead the team in a positive direction. And honestly, this team don't sleep on this team. I mean, they're ranked 6th, but honestly, the last 3 teams can be close. Every single game they face each other is going to be huge for all the teams. And just you gotta like stress the importance of each matchup that you're up against. I mean, say like Gators and Warriors games and Gators and Rhinos games are going to be huge, and they're so evenly matched. It's just who's having the better day that day. That's all going to come down to that, and it's certainly going to be one hell of a season. And yeah, let's see how correct these power rankings are at the end of the year, and see if the records are correct that were posted in the article the other day. And yeah, that's about it for me. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Thank you for watching, folks. Like I said earlier, I'm your host and commissioner, Tom Anderson, and I just want to thank you for watching this episode and taking the time out of your day or night, whenever you're watching this. I truly appreciate you watching what we have to offer. And like I said, opening day, May 17th. Hope to see everyone there. It's definitely going to be a fun time. It'll certainly be a fun season. Thank you all for watching. I'm your host and commissioner, Tom Anderson, signing off. Have a great day. Thank you folks for watching.
Rapidly approaching. 2015 season starts on Sunday, May 17th, which is just about a week from now.
No, Peter. Spurs. Shit, thank you, VP.
Dude, I hate you.
Thank you, Dan.
Oh, what the hell?
Dude,